Hey everyone, this is Bisan from Gaza. I'm still alive.
That was the very familiar face of Bisan of Gaza. She's the young Palestinian journalist whose social media dispatches from Gaza under bombardment opened a global window onto the suffering of those living in the enclave over the last 10 months. Now, that clip is from a short Al Jazeera documentary called It's Bisan from Gaza and I'm Still Alive, which catalogues some of Bisan Atef Auda's journalism. This is a clip from that film.
In November 2023, I was among hundreds of thousands forced to risk our lives by walking south on Salah ad-Din Street, and I ended up in Khan Yunis.
Hi everyone, this is Bisan. We are from the last people that evacuated the north of Gaza. Thousands are walking. You have to walk for 3 to 4 hours. Many places are bombed.
كم واحد طلع معك حوالي كل المكان؟
أنا واللي المكان هي كل الحارة اللي انضربت كلها طلعت.
Some people take an initiative to distribute water and baskets for people. Hundreds of thousands of people are in tents. They don't have any place to go or in the streets.
Now, that documentary was awarded a prestigious Peabody Award for Excellent Journalism earlier this year. And in July, it was nominated for an Emmy Award in the category Outstanding Hard News Feature Story Short Form. But not everyone was happy about it being recognized by the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. This is from a write-up in film industry paper, The Wrap. A pro-Israel non-profit called the Creative Community for Peace, or CCFP, wrote a letter to the Academy calling on it to rescind Bisan's nomination over her alleged ties to the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. The Wrap goes on to say this. CCFP, a pro-Israel non-profit organization, discovered Auda's long-standing ties to PFLP, which has been a designated terrorist organization in the US since 1997. The journalist regularly spoke at PFLP rallies and hosted events to honor Palestinians injured or killed in violent confrontations with Israeli soldiers. In 2018, the PFLP explicitly referred to Auda as a member of the Progressive Youth Union of the organization. And CCFP director Ari Engel told The Wrap this. The Emmys' decision to honor someone with clear ties to a US-designated terrorist group is inexcusable and should have never happened. It would be legitimizing a terrorist organization. If the Emmys don't change course and rescind this nomination, they will be glorifying someone who is a member of an organization that has carried out numerous aircraft hijackings, participated in the October 7th massacre in Israel, carried out waves of bombings on markets and restaurants, and murdered innocent women and children. The Emmys cannot allow their prestigious award show to be hijacked by terrorists and instead should continue to promote peace and tolerance through the arts. And Engel went on to say this. The entertainment community, including the National Television Academy, should use its voice to help build bridges for peace and understanding. However, the Emmy nomination of Bisan Auda, someone with documented terrorism ties, is unfathomably irresponsible. With it, the Academy is condoning violence and helping to normalize PFLP terrorism around the globe. Now, more than 150 people signed that letter, including Will and Grace star Deborah Messing and former CEO of Paramount Pictures Sherry Lansing. Now, look, we can't verify those supposed links, but what we do know is that the PFLP, a revolutionary socialist group, has at times been opposed to both the Hamas government in Gaza as well as the more moderate Fatah party. Its members have included Palestinian liberation icon Leila Khaled, and yes, the group has committed acts in breach of international law, including attacks on civilians. Now, the Academy has responded to the letter from the CCFP with its president, Adam Sharp, saying this. The News and Documentaries Emmys have recognized excellence in television journalism for nearly half a century. The honored programs and reports have taken viewers to the front lines of every world conflict, probed political and cultural divides, and sought to illuminate even the darkest circumstances. Some of these works have been controversial, giving a platform to voices that certain viewers may find objectionable or even abhorrent, but all have been in the service of the journalistic mission to capture every facet of the story. Natas is aware of reports cited in your letter and initially surfaced by a communications consultant in the region that appear to show a then teenage Bisan Auda speaking at various PFLP-associated events between 6 and 9 years ago. Natas has been unable to corroborate these reports, nor has it been able to date to surface any evidence of more contemporary or active involvement by Auda with a PFLP organization. The Academy also, in that letter, rejected the request from the CCFP, meaning Bisan and Al Jazeera are still in contention for the prestigious TV award. Helena, Bisan's journalism has opened a lot of people's eyes to what's happening in Gaza. It's been incredibly important in many ways. So what do you make of this story?
I mean, there's a large level of hypocrisy here as well, where, of course, as you said, there have been plenty of attacks that the PFLP have done historically. There have been violations of international law. The IDF, they violate international law all of the time. Do you think there would have been the same reaction if somebody else had previously who'd served in the IDF was being given an award somewhere else? Do we ever see anyone being removed from a potential category for any kind of award show off and being acknowledged in terms of the things that they do for the arts? Do we ever have these people, their awards rescinded because they have previously served in the IDF? Of course we don't. And even then, she has been speaking at rallies. She allegedly has links to a social movement that has links to the PFLP. Has she ever been a member of the Abu Ali Mustafa Brigades? No, they have no evidence for these things. Again, we've got to separate the fact that the PFLP are a political organization and the Abu Ali Mustafa Brigades are their military wing, who are the ones who have previously engaged in violations of international law, some terror attacks as well on Israeli soil, for example. But the last claimed terror attack by the Abu Ali Mustafa Brigades was in 2015 anyway, before any of these claims about Bisan were even talked about. One point that they made in the letter too was saying, this is a group that was involved in the October the 7th massacre in Israel. And well, whilst again there were plenty of violations of international law and war crimes that were committed by the Izz ad-Din al-Qassam brigades and the Al-Quds brigades on October the 7th, there's been no evidence, at least not that I could find, that there were any terror attacks or any violations of international law committed by the PFLP's Abu Ali Mustafa brigades, specifically on October the 7th. Even NGO Monitor, a pro-Israel front group that is used to smear anti-Zionist groups, even NGO Monitor couldn't provide any evidence at all that the PFLP did anything that was targeted at civilians, specifically, let's say, on October the 7th. They have plenty of videos of the PFLP's militant wing attacking military targets, but that is, of course, a legitimate target for people attacking an occupying force under international law. And if that's all the NGO Monitor has, again, a pro-Zionist group used to smear anti-Zionist groups, then that's not really particularly good evidence now, is it, that they participated in October the 7th massacres? Because there's no evidence has been provided, at least not that I could find, in terms of this. So using this pretty weak evidence to be able to remove Bisan's incredibly important journalism from such prestigious awards, it strikes to me like that it's desperation to ensure that we do not actually have proper credit being given to somebody who's done a lot of good work to expose the failure of American foreign relations with Israel at a time where this should be being put under as much scrutiny as possible. And it seems like some people want the hands to be washed of this rather than for everybody to see this in the open, and have the people who have exposed it rewarded, at least given recognition for the hard work that they have done in exposing America and Israel's crimes.
Yeah, I mean, even if Bisan did have some of those links, I'm not suggesting for a moment that she did. She's not filming from film sets of blown up buildings in the background or, made up places with tents. She's doing, as you say, incredibly important journalism. And one of the very, very important ways in which her journalism works is that it's this kind of a very different style of journalism from the kind of sanitized corporate journalism where objectivity is what's valued most. I mean, it's quite bogus notion. It's this sort of, immersion journalism where she is in the scene and she's reporting it as someone in the scene, a Palestinian. And it's a way in which she's been able to build like incredibly powerful parasocial relations with viewers. You know, people feel like they know her, they're concerned about her. When she goes quiet for a while on social media, people are really, really worried, as they should be, because journalists are being killed all the time in Gaza by the IDF. So I wonder if there's also something here about the power and this kind of shockingness of this kind of journalism to a Western audience, a young Western audience in particular, that certain groups, pro-Israeli groups, would like to have silenced or not taken to a larger audience.
Well, absolutely. Citizen journalism is something it is something very novel in the social media age. People being able to do direct reporting on the ground from things which were previously the reserve of far more established groups before now. The advent of the camera phone led to this whole thing where we had camera phone journalism going on, and now this has become something that has been it's been professionalized somewhat. That's to be true. But regardless of whether or not it's been professionalized elsewhere, Bisan has done incredibly important work in being somebody who has been on the ground, especially whilst we have seen this difference between citizen journalists being able to give us the inside story without any kind of filter on what gets reported, which we do have. You got to remember, when journalists come in for like TV reporting crews outside, they have to be accompanied by the IDF, and they have to have their footage screened as to what we can see when Israel allowed people into Gaza to report what's going on in the war. It's incredibly important that we have citizen journalists on the ground being able to report these things, as you say, this kind of immersion journalism. Otherwise, we wouldn't know. We wouldn't know the full extent of what was going on, because everything else has been sanitized to the point of being essentially irrelevant when it comes to what the IDF will allow people to see and what they won't. So that is a really important distinction that we have going on there, which is incredibly important. That, there is as well this emotional connection that you have to somebody who is being the person whose life could be ended at any moment. As you say, we have seen so many journalists killed, and I can think of nothing more important in the wake of what we've seen to journalists in Gaza than giving an award to somebody who's put their own life at risk to do this reporting, knowing that journalists have been specifically targeted by the IDF during this war very specifically. So having that taken away, I think it's a real slap in the face to the work of journalists everywhere. For somebody who does so much work to put their life on the line to report this stuff, would potentially have an award taken away from them.
Her journalism is also, of course, incredibly humanizing of Palestinians in Gaza, bucking the trend of the Western media to dehumanize them or not mention how they've died or who's killed them. But I remember when the poet and professor Rafat Alaria was killed, and we did a piece on cultural genocide, and we used one of Bisan's clips where she was talking about what the destruction of the Palestinian Central Archive by the IDF meant to her and to other Palestinians. The complete erasure, not only of human beings from the strip rather, but a whole history, records of those who have already gone. And yeah, there were also, great videos of her talking about the love of cats in Palestine, how cats are loved in Palestine. So this kind of humanizing force is I think also something that people who are supporting Israel or who support this attack on Gaza find quite worrying.